I will not do a one-night stand, but apparently I will do a 2-year waste my time. Maybe you're in that camp right now, and deep down you know it's never a waste, but damn does it hurt. There's no sugarcoating. Eventually you come to the conclusion it's time to move on. How do you go about this? Maybe you're out of a relationship recently and you find yourself obsessing over this person, or maybe it's not so recent. 2 months, 2 years, 2 decades even. You find yourself going back to their social media and you just want to let go of this person. You wonder why you're not over. The goal of this video is not just to give you some cookie cutter, don't worry, it'll get better with time, advice that you can get other places. I want to really get to the root of why you're feeling the way you do, give you some practical tips. This will really help. If you want to use your breakup as a breakthrough, I'll link down below our coaching program. Let's start with the question, why do you even need to let go in the first place? To be fully honest, you don't have to. You could hold on to this person for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You're not gonna get arrested. You're not gonna die. You can conceal it so nobody really knows you're holding on. You could do all those things, but I don't think that's what you want. Deep down inside, you know they're no longer serving you and you want to let go. To go a bit deeper on that though, just take the past, present, future frame. Thinking about this person, what are you doing? You're getting caught in the past. Can you ever create a compelling future from your past? No, the only thing you can create the future from that you want is in the present moment. And so by definition, thinking of this person over and over and over and over and over again, every single time you do, you're stuck in the past. Quick personal story, if that's okay on this. There I was sitting on a rock overlooking the beautiful Pacific Ocean in Hawaii. You'd think I'd be super stoked, but I wasn't. I was feeling sadness. 23 at the time, young, took my longboard and backpack and I would work on farms in between college semesters. I was doing a journaling session and wondering why I hadn't had a relationship in like 2 years. Then it hit me. I was still holding on to a relationship I had 16 years old, 17 years old, early high school. What was funny is that we didn't date for super long. We dated for 3 months. And then she said she was getting back with this other guy. But I still held on to the idea of that person for years after. I created all these narratives in my mind of one day she'll come back and you know, she'll say she was wrong. Maybe I'll get rich or maybe I'll get famous and she'll see you on TV. And I realized I can't create a future relationship if I'm stuck in past ones. So right then and there, I just let it go. It was pretty poetic. I almost imagined that person or that story or that old identity going out with the tide. And that's a perfect metaphor for letting go. There's an ease with that term. There's a gentleness with that term. You're stop resisting. Right? If I say letting go, some people might think it's weak or you're giving up or you're quitting, and that's a mindset shift that we need to make. It's not that at all. There's only so much you can hold on to. Remember when you go grocery shopping and you get those plastic bags, right? Back in the day, your mom would take you shopping. You'd come out with like 50 plastic bags on both hands. She's trying to hand you another one. You're like, dude, I got 50 right here. Like, I'm maxed out. In order for you to take on that other bag, you would have had to let one go. And that's exactly what life is. If we're just holding on to every single thing, there's no room, there's no room for other people to come into your life. Let's keep going. There's 2 cognitive biases I think explains what you're going through very, very well. And this is gonna blow your mind and explain a whole lot. The very first one, something called loss aversion bias. You've heard me talk about this in videos before. Basic premise, you're gonna work much harder not to lose something than you will to gain something. The fear of losing $100 outweighs the pleasure of potentially gaining it. But the second one is called the peak end experience. It's impossible for you to remember every single detail of every single day. There's billions of stimuli going on right now. So your brain filters it out, and when it looks back, there's a cognitive bias that goes on where you only see the peak and the end. So the most intense moment of what happened, or relationship, or events, and how it ended. That's how your brain creates a snapshot and summarizes. Why am I telling you these 2 things? Think about the words we use to describe break-ups. He broke up with me. They cheated on me. We split. He dumped me. The language is very positive and uplifting, right? The very act that you lost someone, what does that do? Yeah, it kicks on. You're a loss aversion bias. So even if they're a terrible person, yeah, he was a narcissist, and yeah, he clubbed baby seals, that loss aversion's like, dude, you lost her. She was totally the one. Or girl, go get him back. There's not gonna be another guy like him. Now marry that to the peak end bias. When you're looking back and you just got out of a relationship, you're not seeing the whole picture of when you did fight 3 a.m. and you got the noise complaints because you fought so much. You're just seeing how it ended, which is what you're going through. You lost something, so your brain's like, oh, that sucks. And you're remembering the peak moments, the good moments. You ever been on a trip? Okay, I went backpacking Southeast Asia. You know what's crazy about that? I look back on photos and videos and footage and I'm like, that was such a great day. That was an amazing experience. But I forget about the boat that we had to take where people's luggage was falling off the side and suitcases were getting lost going to this small little island for like 8 to 12 hours, just like the sun blaring down, skin peeling from the sunburn, hot, sweaty, sticky. You forget about that. These biases aren't going away. Even now that you know about them and you're aware, yeah, you have the potential to at least catch it and reframe it, but it doesn't make you immune from it. You have to reframe the story and the meaning. But what do you do if you miss them and you want them back? That's like a predominant feeling that you might be going through. This obsessive thought of, how do I get them back? Do I use the no contact? Do I text them? Do I go outside their door with a boombox radio and hold it so they know I've changed? What do I gotta do to get them back? Every situation's different. Pattern though, I've seen in myself and others, oftentimes you don't actually want that person back, right? You want the idea of who that person is back. That's very different. That maybe you don't even love them, you love the idea of who you think they are. There's like a fantasy character that you created, and that person in reality doesn't even exist. This is especially true if you haven't had contact with them for a long time. Left alone, that's what the mind does. One of the best unexpected examples I've ever seen on this is actually a 1.5 hour season finale episode from a very unsuspecting show called Nathan For You. The series finale is called Finding Francis, and we're a 78-year-old man. His name is Bill, and he's a professional Bill Gates impersonator. Yes, really, I mean, apparently that's a job. He's an old man who won't stop coming into Nathan's production office. They used him for 1 episode, and now he's friends, and he keeps showing up. And Nathan's the host, and he's like, what do we do with this guy? It'd be in the middle of a workday, and this guy would come in, sit down, start eating nuts, and talk about his long summers in Arkansas as a kid, high school, and all these stories. But there was one he kept coming back to, a woman he was obsessed with, named Frances. In fact, he still carried around a letter she wrote him over 50 years ago. Nathan, needing a story for a season finale, decides that, hey, yeah, this one's the one to tell. Let's track down Frances. Let's see what she's doing. They do the works. They go to Arkansas. They put up flyers. Have you seen this woman? They even go to his high school. They ask around. To get everyone in one room, they even throw a 57th high school reunion party. Random, but that was the year they were on. A source eventually tells them, Frances, hey, she's remarried. She's living in Michigan. Bill was kind of crushed. They said, no, we didn't get dressed up for nothing. So they fly to Michigan. They find her house. Kind of creepy, I know, but sweet intent. Imagine what he's going through, this Bill guy. In his mind, it's this 50-year romance. He's sitting outside her house. They finally found Frances. Hands are shaking, phone in hand. Him expecting her to hear his voice and instantly know who he is. You can imagine his heart was crushed when she didn't even recognize his voice. Wait, who is this? Oh yeah, Bill from high school, from college. He didn't tell her he was outside. The tone kind of said it all. She had moved on, she was remarried, she had grandkids, her life was great. She had a full, long life. I can't speak for her, but the tone of it was she kind of forgot about Bill. But here he was holding on to this person for 50 years. Missed a lot of opportunities because in his mind, that was what was always gonna happen. Bill eventually says, there's no need to go inside. They fly home. Love that episode because it's sad. It's actually a heartbreaking episode. We think of fantasies as like fairy tales and wizards and witches and potions and spells. Most of the fantasies we have are just your world, your reality, just altered the way you want it. That's where we spend most of our time. So here's this guy who had a fantasy, not for 5 years, not for 10 years, not for 20, for 5 decades. And nothing happened. It's a cautionary tale of how long humans are able to hold on to someone with just a sliver of hope that it's gonna change. Don't let it get to 50 years. Give yourself the permission to drop that fantasy. Another way to look at this, there's 2 sides of the coin. There's the pain and the pleasure you're getting from this person. The pain, you know, it's obvious, it sucks. If you are getting some pleasure, you have to realize this. Just like finding Frances, he was getting some sort of pleasure in that 50 years, of the fantasy in his mind of what if she comes back? What if she leaves her husband? What if we have this big rendezvous and everything's high school love all over again? You got to be willing to drop that. You drop that pleasure, that fantasy of them coming back into your life, that longing for them, that's actually how you stop obsessing and you actually move on. And there's a freedom in this letting go process where you're saying pain, pleasure, both, dropping them. I'm choosing to drop the pain and the pleasure. It's not a hack. It's not a subliminal programming. It's not an affirmation. It's a straight up decision to let go. If you want some help changing your story, apply down below for our coaching program, Metamorphic, where we create the 2.0 version of you. Now that you know why you need to let go, you're probably ready for how. So go watch this video right now where I give you a step-by-step simple framework you can use to drop two sides of the coin. It's how to let go.